I, a 23-year-old male, met my ex, a 21-year-old female, 3 years ago. We lived on campus at uni in different halls of residence. After a few months, we got together and, for the most part, had a very happy relationship. There was always one issue, though. My ex grew up in a very religious home. Her father is a pastor. She has been open with her family and does not share their faith. They weren't happy about it but accepted that she had to make her own choices. Nevertheless, some of that religious upbringing was still in her mind. I grew up in a different religion but was never very serious about it, and I am no longer religious. Our relationship was pretty standard, except that she told me very early that she was a virgin and wanted to stay that way until she was married. It wasn't for religious reasons, as I mentioned. She isn't religious, but she was very focused on not disappointing her dad. We did other sexual things, just not intercourse. I never had much luck with girls growing up, and going into the relationship, I was a virgin, and I still am, at least if you classify being a virgin as never having had intercourse. Anyway, I was becoming more resentful of the fact that everyone I knew was having normal sexual relationships, and we weren't. I couldn't understand why she didn't want to have an entire sexual relationship. Of course, I never pressured her about it. While I was at uni and pretty broke, getting married was something for the future. Last year, I was in my last year of uni, and she was working at her first professional job. Her degree was shorter than mine, so she finished uni first despite being younger than me. She talked a lot about all these successful guys she met at work, making me feel less like I was still a broke uni student. Coupled with her still not wanting an entire sexual relationship, it did make me feel more resentful. We had some arguments about it. After a while, I felt I should end the relationship because we wanted different things and our lives were on different paths. It wasn't terrific. She was crying a lot, and I felt terrible afterward. Anyway, it has been nearly 6 months since we broke up. We haven't been in touch at all for most of that time. I was not involved with anyone else then, as I was 100% focused on finishing my degree. I have finally finished uni and am about to start my first professional job. She recently got in touch again and asked to meet up. I hesitated but decided we had so much good history that I should hear her out. She told me she's been missing me terribly these past 6 months. She thinks she wants to get back together and is open to having a sexual relationship now. I asked her why now, what changed, and she looked uncomfortable. After some prying, she said she had a short-term fling with one of the older guys at work while we were broken up, which, of course, was fine as she wasn't my girlfriend anymore. Anyway, she said he persisted with her until she started having sex with him. She ended it with him recently. She was clear that it was consensual but that the guy was very persistent in pursuing sex with her. I was gutted. I couldn't understand why she'd make me wait all those years, but I was fine doing it with some new guy she'd only seen briefly. I asked if the reason she was open to having a sexual relationship now was because she wasn't a virgin anymore. She said yes. I asked her to give me some space to process all this. I'm conflicted and would love some advice on this. I have missed her a lot and still have strong feelings for her, but simultaneously, it feels like I have been strung along for years. It's hard to understand why I don't want to take her back. Everything logically makes sense for us to get back together. I'd even get to finally have a sexual relationship with her, but I feel awful about this whole thing and don't want to ignore those feelings. Additional info from Oop. Some of the comments are very harsh on my ex, and I guess that's not surprising. You don't know her. She's not some evil, manipulative villain at all. I would never have been with anyone like that. She's still the funny, intelligent, charming, beautiful girl I always knew. Any guy would be lucky to have her. I could handle the baggage here, but won't a clean break is the way to go. Though she may regret her relationship with the other man, it's not my business as she was a single woman and we were broken up. I wasn't ever expecting to hear from her again. Really, this whole situation is very surprising to me. I'm feeling hurt because this is a solid blow to my ego, that I feel like the lesser man here. I can own that, which I need to work on. Ultimately, I have some hang-ups about sex from this relationship that I need to deal with. A few people have suggested I could benefit from therapy. I'm going to look into that. I need help to process all these emotions from this situation. Relevant comments. Jinboy32. I would ask her why she was willing to sleep with this guy after such a short relationship. But after 3 years, she was not willing to sleep with you. OP. This is the right question, because I don't know why she didn't say. All she said was that the guy was persistent. I'm torn about whether to text her, saying I don't want to rekindle things, leave it all in the past, or whether I should ask more questions about what happened, because this hurts. I don't know if I'm ready to get details of her relationship with the other guy. Sometimes I feel like I'm stunted in some way. A few comments have said I'm immature, and they're probably right. I know I ended the relationship, and that she's entitled to do what she wants with anyone else, but that still doesn't make it hurt any less. Maybe it's just best to say goodbye and leave all this in the past. Update. I appreciate people taking the time to comment on my last post. The response was much more than I expected, with over 2,000 comments. I'm amazed so many people wanted to comment about my situation. Thank you. Warning: this post is long. I have kept a daily journal since I was 16. A lot of what follows is a dump from my journal. Yes, I know I'm not concise. I will refer to my ex as Ellie, not her real name. I want to write a bit about the comments because so many people took the time to provide their thoughts, and I appreciate that. The majority of comments were variations of move on. This is a clean break. It is a strong recommendation with a lot to recommend it. A minority said to give her a chance and see how it goes. Plenty calling me an arsehole for ending it because I wanted sex in our relationship, or for being obsessed with her virginity, that I dumped her because she wouldn't put out. Quite a few said my breaking up with her made her feel like sex is necessary to keep a guy, and that it drove her heart broken into the next guy's bed. There were a few "she's pregnant" comments. Not that I know of, it's not impossible, but it won't have anything to do with me if that happens. The dude saying I should have her and leave her, or worse. Seriously, some of you guys need a hug or a psychologist. No, I would never use her like that, no matter our past. Ellie and I were a loving couple for years. That counts for something even after we broke up. Feeling hurt doesn't justify using her, or anyone else for that matter. As for comments that I have some hang up about taking her virginity, my issue when together was that we weren't having sex in our relationship, not whether she was a virgin or not. Her being a virgin was her reason for being abstinent, but it wasn't directly an issue either way to me. If she hadn't been a virgin and wanted to be abstinent, I would have been in the same situation. The title of my last post was not great. Really, I broke up because we were not having sex, not because she was a virgin. Bear in mind, for 3 years, Ellie had everything she wanted from our relationship: boyfriend, love, affection, loyalty, support, and a guy who respected her wishes to be abstinent. While she got 100 of what she wanted for me, there was a significant element missing, and there was no way to reconcile that. Either we were having sex or not having it. Sex requires both to say yes, and that wasn't going to happen. With hindsight, I should have ended the relationship early on when Ellie first told me she wanted to not have sex until marriage. When we got together, I was a naive 19-year-old who had never had a girlfriend before, so I went along with things because I really liked her and got along with her so well. I fell in love with her and felt stuck in a relationship that wasn't what I wanted. I've learned from this and won't make that mistake in the future. I want to make active, not passive, choices in future relationships, not just go along with things because that's what the other person wants. Our views about sex in our relationship were not compatible. So I ended the relationship rather than waiting any longer, hoping she'd change her mind. It was scary to take that step, and I put it off for way too long because I didn't want to hurt her. But I couldn't stay in the relationship just for her. I had to consider myself, too. My mistake was waiting so long to get to that point. I regret that, as it caused her more hurt than if I'd ended it early on. Many of you say that sex just isn't that important, but for me it is, at least part of a relationship. You can disagree. That's fine. Some people are okay with being in no-sex relationships. No judgment from me, but that's not what I want. Some people took issue with me, saying she strung me along. On reflection, that's fair. Ellie was clear to me about wanting to not have sex until marriage. I foolishly stayed too long, hoping she'd change her mind one day. She didn't. That was my mistake. I strung myself along, really. She never led me on in any way. It hurt to learn that she had sex with the next guy relatively quickly after I waited so long, but she is my ex, so that is not my business anymore. She is allowed to change her mind. She can have sex or not with whoever she chooses. I don't get a say in that. My hurt is an emotional response, not a logical one. Logically, I see she did nothing wrong by me. I'll get over it. It's just my bruised ego, if I'm honest with myself, feeling I'm somehow a lesser man because he took that step with the next guy. I know objectively that isn't true, but I sure feel it. I was not a perfect boyfriend and I made mistakes. I have learned from them. I don't regret breaking up with Ellie. I still think it was my right decision. Enough background. A few things have happened. Last weekend was Australia Day, a long weekend. I was on a camping trip in the Grampians for any Aussies reading. It was so lovely to be in nature, to do some bushwalks with friends, and to decompress. Talking about the Ellie situation with my mates around the campfire felt good. Most of them knew Ellie from our years together, and they had a range of views, just like the commenters in my post, and I got the usual good-natured crap about still being a virgin. I learned there's an expensive bottle of scotch they bought a while ago that will have its seal cracked when mine is. Bastards. Law? One great question a friend asked was whether I would have ever decided to reach out and take Ellie back if she had never reached out to me first. The answer is no. It was so obvious to me. That cut through a lot of the confusion for me. I was being too passive in this situation, and I needed to do what I wanted, not just react to what Ellie wanted. By the time I was on the way home, I had decided to not get back together with her. But that was moot. When I was driving home and got a mobile signal again, there was no mobile network where we had camped. The network delivered a bunch of messages from Ellie all at once. She said she was wrong to ask me to get back together, and that she's back with Tim, fake name now. She also texted that the thing with Tim was more severe than she had told me when she last met me. She apologized for misleading me about her and Tim's relationship. If you remember, she called it a fling before. She asked if we could meet to talk about it. I was unhappy, so I just texted back no. I was not very mature but wasn't in the mood to hear more about all this. And I was surprised and pissed off that she lied to me. That seemed very out of character for her. She tried calling me, but I didn't want to answer. She sent another text saying, "Tin and I had a fight. I shouldn't have come to you." Finally, she said, "I'm sorry." When I got home, I was an idiot, and my curiosity got the better of me. I looked up Tim online. His real given name is uncommon, so it wasn't hard to find. Found him on LinkedIn, which gave me his full name. Ellie is one of his connections, and he works at the same firm, so I was confident it was him. He's a director at their firm, one level below partner. He also has pics on Instagram. Lots of posts about his adventures around the world at various events and exotic places, as well as shots with an expensive-looking car, a few photos of him and Ellie with their arms around each other in Singapore in November. That confirms it was severe. He wouldn't have public pics with her for a casual fling. All that just made me feel bad. No good comes from comparing myself to my ex's successful boyfriend. Ellie is not my girlfriend, and I'm not in competition with Tim, so I won't do that again. My ego's bruised enough already. I have been living a very frugal life my whole time at uni, aka poor as F, so I know I can feel inferior when I see people with wealth. That's another problem too. Sort out. Anyway, all that was on Sunday afternoon evening. On Tuesday evening, Ellie knocked at my door. She said that she knew I didn't want to talk to her, but she felt bad about everything and hoped I would let her explain herself and clear the air. Then, I'd never see her again if that's what I wanted. I let her in. I was not happy with recent events, but figured I might at least get a clear idea of what was going on. It was a long, heavy conversation that lasted for hours. But here's the gist of it, as I remember it. When we broke up, she was devastated. She said it took a couple of months to feel a bit better. She missed me constantly and wanted to see me the whole time. But we agreed to keep apart and heal when I ended it. In September, she met Tim at work. He manages a different team. She doesn't work for him. She said he was charming and attractive and showed almost immediate interest in her. They got to know each other, and he asked her out. She was worried it was a rebound but felt so much better getting his attention that she went along. After dating, she developed feelings for him, which later led to a sexual relationship. It wasn't a fling, and she had dated him for a while beforehand. I asked whether he had pressured her into sex last time. He said he was very persistent. She said she was trying to not upset me. She thought if she gave the impression she was reluctant to have sex with Tim, I wouldn't think as badly of her. So it was a story to try and spare my feelings. I told her it just made me worried she had been assaulted. She looked shocked at that and said no way, she was actually the one who initiated their sexual relationship. Although I wouldn't say I like that she lied to me, I can understand why. I don't think she did anything wrong in changing her mind about abstinence. Yes, I was hurt when she told me she was having sex, but I have no right to judge her for anything. She's a single adult, and it's her life. I don't think badly of her. She burst into tears and said, "I thought you must hate me now." I assured her that I didn't. She said she was sad it didn't work for us, but that she never would have dropped her virginity commitment if we had not broken up. After we broke up, she decided it was a commitment she made to her dad when she was still a kid, and it was messing with the life she wanted now. So, by the time she and Tim got into their relationship, she had already decided she was ready for sex with the right person. I asked about her dad, and she said, "He doesn't need to know." I asked about why she asked to get back together. Tim is older. She told me he's 32 and has been at the firm for 10 years. One day at work, one of the women made a snarky comment to Ellie about being another one of Tim's girls. She did some digging, and it turns out Tim has a history. He has dated a long list of women from work. Several of them were young graduate employees, just like Ellie. The rumor on the office is that Ellie is just the next girl to get used by him. She was horrified. She accused Tim of using her. They argued, and she told him it was over. Soon after that, she came to me. She felt as if we might be able to rekindle things now that she was open to a sexual relationship. But my hesitation and time to calm down made her realize that was a mistake. Over the weekend, Tim asked her to work things out. She decided to give it a chance. She tried to call me, but they went to voicemail. I was camping, so she sent those messages instead. So that's settled. I don't want her back, and she's in a relationship, so she doesn't want me back either. We chatted a bit about how our families are going. She congratulated me on finally finishing university. She asked if I had been seeing anyone. When I told her I'd been studying hard and working a lot since exams, retail job with no time for girls, she laughed and said I'm still a big nerd. She hoped we could be friendly if we ever saw each other, but she wanted to keep out of contact out of respect for her relationship with Tim. She wants to give it a real chance of working, which is fair enough. She hugged me. thanked me for understanding, and left. So there you have it. Ellie involved me in her relationship drama. I would have preferred she hadn't, but it's sorted now. I'm glad I paid attention to my feelings and took time to consider things. As it could have been messy if I had taken her back. Trusting my gut has been the biggest lesson for me in all this. I still care for her despite recent events. She deals with many complicated things between her new relationship and work gossip. I wish her well and hope she will be happy, whether it's with Tim or not. She was my first love, and I expect I'll always have warm memories of her. But I am clear now that I don't want her back. She is my past and I want to look forward. Well, this has become an essay. Tutors at uni always told me I was too waffly in my writing. Well, F those guys, I'm not a student anymore. I can now focus on launching my new career with no distractions. I've worked so hard for so long to get here. My new job starts on Monday. Building real experience in my new profession will be great, not just endless theory. I'll be earning much better money, no more student poverty, and I've got graduation in May to look forward to as well. I'm open to finding someone new, which is way down my priority list. I'm not going to actively pursue that anytime soon. Cheers, everyone, for your comments and advice. Update. Okay, you've convinced me today. I blocked Ellie on everything since we agreed not to be in touch again. That shouldn't matter. But if she doesn't stick to that agreement, e.g. if she and Tim split fight again, it won't be easy for her to contact me again. I thought it was petty to block someone, but in this case, you've convinced me that it's a way to take control of the situation. With luck, I won't hear from her again, and if I do, like if she knocks on the door, I'll remind her of our agreement and shut her off. Time to stop being passive and take charge of my life. A life Ellie will not be part of. Relevant comments. Terracotta. I'm glad you came to the best conclusion for you. However, I feel you gave Ellie too much of what she wanted to feel better about herself at the expense of your own emotional well-being. OP. I was already pretty churned up about things from when she first asked to get back together. I wish she hadn't done that. But after she came to see me on Tuesday, it was easier for me. We got to mutually say no to a future together and also put a lot of baggage in the bin. Is Ellie going to be happy? I don't know. I hope so, but I have doubts about this, Tim. You can't trust my judgment on that. More relevant to me is whether I'm going to be happy. The answer is F yes, because I'm going to make that happen.